Welcome back, y'all, and happy Wednesday. Today, we're going to be introducing you to the pistol formation. Now, up to this point, everything that we've talked about with the so-called scheme change to Tennessee's offense has mostly just been wrinkles, and we got all of our information from some insider notes, from what we're seeing out there at practice, from understanding what Tennessee struggled with, what we had success with last season, and understanding what we would probably want to do based off of the changes that we've made to our personnel moving forward in 2025. And I can tell you right here, right now, this is something that we have heard hinted by several people, insiders, and maybe people that's kind of like close to the program that aren't necessarily insiders as well. But we've also seen some of it in spring practice. We've seen some of that. We've also seen a lot of outside zone blocking. Really, most of the blocking that we've seen has been outside zone blocking. So we know that those are probably some changes that are coming. But the actual pistol formation, that's really like a scheme change. And it's not really a scheme change. We're just adding a new scheme, which is what Nico said. He said we've got this new scheme that we're adding to what we already have. So I don't want for people to ever think that we're saying, hey, Tennessee's entire offense is just totally going to change. We're just adding more to our playbook, which is what we talked about at the last season. We've got to add more wrinkles and maybe even some different schemes to our offense if we want to have success moving forward versus some of these better defenses and things like that. But with all those things being said, this is going to be a shorter video. Please do make sure to like and subscribe. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, y'all. First, I'm going to show you what the pistol formation looks like. There could be a lot of different combinations, but the biggest thing is that the quarterback is going to be 4 yards away from the center, and then the running back is going to be 2 yards directly behind the quarterback. Now, in a typical shotgun formation, the quarterback is going to be about 7 yards away from the center, and the pistol is like a mix of a shotgun with an under the center, and you can get a good mix of both. So I think it's perfect for, Tennessee's personnel, for what Tennessee wants to do. We can still spread the field out and all of that. We can still run tempo. Actually, I kind of feel like the more that we're adding things to our offensive scheme and to our system, the more that I like that tempo, because it's not just, hey, we know exactly what this team's going to do, and the hurrying up isn't necessarily hurting anybody. But now, if you can move from, being inside of a shotgun to, hey, we're going to flip to a pistol, while we're still going fast, and we're going to move bodies around everywhere. I love all those things, and I think that this is going to be very beneficial for Tennessee if we do indeed use it in 2025. All right, y'all. Now I'm going to tell you a few of my positives and negatives to running this pistol offense. We'll start on the left side where all the positives are. The first thing is that Tennessee can, utilize all running schemes, all passing schemes out of this offense, right? So we're talking about inside zone, outside zone, powers, counters. Really doesn't matter. We can do all of that type of stuff. The running back can get downhill because they'll line up directly behind the quarterback. They're also hitting right there behind the quarterback. Obviously, the read option game is going to be heavily in play with this offense. RPO game is also going to be very, very heavy. And Tennessee can spread the field out wide. We can shorten up our splits. We can run multiple tight ends, zero tight ends. Doesn't matter. We can do all those things inside of this system. And in about a week, we'll probably get into the film room and break down how this offense could look, just based off of what we know about the offensive minds that we have on our coaching staff. And I'm telling you right here, right now, Tennessee should put up a whole lot of points if we do decide to run more pistol in 2025. Next point for me is probably the biggest point, and that's that the quarterback can ball inside of this system. As a matter of fact, the quarterback pretty much has to ball in this system. If you think about the spread pistol, you're going to think about a Colin Kaepernick. To me, he ran at the absolute best. He was close in that Heisman race. I think he finished 8th or whatever, but he was his entire team because he's such a good athlete. He was 6'4", 230 with a very strong arm. Now, everything that the scouts were talking about that Colin Kaepernick needed to get fixed before going on to the NFL, Nico has all those things down pat. He's actually going to probably end up being bigger to start this season off than Cap was. I think, Nico's going to come in at about 6'6" and a quarter, something like that, over 230 pounds. I think that Tennessee wants to continue to add the weight to him because inside of a system like this, where Nico's going to be using his legs a lot more, he's going to have to add the weight because he will be taking some hits. So we'll see how much weight can Nico gain safely. But I just think that if you look at all the skill sets of a Colin Kaepernick and, throwing Nico into that same system, which ours is probably going to look a lot more, I would say vast. There's going to be a lot more wrinkles to the way that we run it. Yeah, it's going to be very tough to stop. And this could definitely, put Nico into the Heisman race. I think he's got a really good chance to win it if we really buy into this system and if we run it on a consistent basis in 2025. Next thing is that it keeps the defenses honest. We kind of talked about that with just some simple like dive plays and things like that, boots and all of that Nico's going to be asked to do inside of this system, but also because the option game is just so multiple. I mean, jet sweeps and motions. There's just so many different moving pieces to how this offense could look. The defense is going to have to pause. They're going to have to play everything. And, again, I feel like they're going to have to just look at so many things on film that there's no way that they're going to be able to stop it on a consistent basis as long as Tennessee can execute it the way that I think we will, just because of our, personnel and things like that. Now, last thing, and this is another really big one, is that it's easy to learn, but it's hard to stop. Now, we know that Boo Carter wants to play some offense. We also know that we've got mostly young wide receivers that are going to have to play. They're going to have to step up. It's good to have an offensive scheme and system that's not overly complicated, right? Like, it's complicated for the defense, but for us, it's just very simple stuff, and we can pretty much play off of wherever the holes are inside of that defense. And again, it all runs through Nico. So I think that this is a beautiful thing for Tennessee, needless to say. Now, let's talk about some of the potential negatives to running this pistol offense. Number one, the quarterback is going to be a lot closer to the line of scrimmage. What that could maybe mean is that we could see more sacks. Now, I will also say that the quarterbacks will have some real drops. That's another thing that I actually like about this offense, is that Nico's going to have to do some real 3-step drops, 5-step drops, like we said, boots and things like that. So, with all of those things being said, it might not necessarily be a negative thing, but it could be. I also kind of feel like if it's a situation where Tennessee is just running like an option play, where the quarterback's not really going to drop, they catch the ball, they're going to kind of step laterally and make some room for that running back. All the offensive line, especially those tackles, have to do is just maintain the inside leverage. And if the outside guy, right, like if the end, they go up the field, just guide them up the field. And I think that that could maybe be a little bit easier for Tennessee in some situations. Now, the next thing is that it can struggle versus blitzes, and that's also just because the quarterback's going to be closer to that line of scrimmage. If the blitzes aren't picked up, the plays can get blown up really, really quickly. So I'm sure the Tennessee's going to have some wrinkles and some answers to that. Next thing is going to be that the offensive line has to be strong. And I mean, like, literally, physically, they're going to have to be pretty strong just because of how they're going to be asked to block. Again, we won't get too much into that today, but, I actually think that Tennessee's offensive line is already strong. So that might not really even be too much of a negative. And then the last thing, and this one's for sure a negative, is that there could possibly be more fumbles, just because there's so much misdirection, there's so much ball handling and all those types of things. You will see some fumbles over the course of a season. But as long as Tennessee can minimize that, then I think that we'll be fine. All right, y'all, that's going to be it for this video. Like I said, this is not set in stone. We don't know for a fact that Tennessee is going to be running this. We do know that they've run it some in practice, but they will probably run a million different things in practice that they'll never actually run in games. And I would anticipate that next week, whenever spring practice starts back up, the first time that we get to talk to somebody on offense, one of the media members will more than likely ask what this new scheme is, and hopefully we'll get some more concrete and solid answers there. And also next week, we will be actually going into what this could potentially look like inside of the film room with, all the offensive geniuses that Tennessee has on this staff. So needless to say, I'm very excited about this one, and I hope that y'all are too. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments section. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.